Hoge Jahns.
What's up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns with you after a little mini bye. I was just picturing Jarrett Payton dancing to our intro music there when we couldn't see him. You know he was.
Listen, you know what I was doing. I was on the social media machine, X, formerly known as Twitter, reposting that I was joining you boys because this is a big deal here, man. Not everybody gets on the Hoge Jahns podcast. Like, some people have to wait years for this, and like I'm taking advantage of my opportunity.
Yeah, it's not that hard, but we appreciate that you're here, JP. We do this live on Tuesdays, back to being live on Tuesday, which is great. Like to get some coffee going, but as I tweeted earlier, I don't think we need coffee when we got JP on. He is just human caffeine all the time. No idea how he had. I went to bed, you were on TV. Now you're here on StreamYard with us doing a show. I love it.
Yeah, man. It's this is that time of the year, you guys know. I mean, it's crazy as we're fathers and husbands and all the stuff that we do. Football season is definitely like the busy season, but we all, like, the kids are playing sports and all that stuff, so there's no sleep during football season. But man, hasn't this been a crazy one here in Chicago? Like, just thinking about this Bears team and everything that's happened since the start of the season, it's blowing my mind.
And I think it has the potential to get even crazier. You have the Vikings coming in. No Justin Jefferson. What the news is out, he's going to be on IR. I watched the Raiders last night. They look very beatable. Like, how are you feeling about the Bears situation right now, JP?
I mean, I was telling you guys before we started the show, man, you got this mini bye. You're getting healthy again. Guys are coming back, which is always a good sign. Yeah, Minnesota. I mean, this is a winnable game. You got winnable games coming up. Raiders, you got the Chargers, and then the Saints. It's like, where could this team be? I mean, the start to season, I think there was so much buildup going into week one. The Packers, all of the new additions to this ball club, to the roster, how Ryan Poles kind of retooled this thing around. I think everybody, the expectations were, man, like week one, they're coming out, man. We're taking the North. It's us now. We got this. To lose in that Packer game, I have never seen so many Bears fans defeated. Like, after that game, they were like, holy cow. And then things just started to snowball a little bit even more. I knew it didn't surprise me, you guys, just because of my expectations of this ball club. I didn't have high expectations. I thought that they were going to be better than they were last year. So we're talking about 4 wins, 5 wins, or anywhere. Well, I took the under 7.5 when I was out in Vegas. So I mean, that's
okay.
where that's what my thought process was. But I also thought that my whole goal was to see this team. Wins and losses wasn't really my concern. It was more about, was I going to see progress from certain positions? And I think Justin was number one. Were we going to see that jump from him? And would we see them kind of pick up where, you know, they were in close games last year that they weren't able to close those out? One thing that I didn't see was a team giving up. And so this year it was kind of like there was so much stuff going on that was all combined together that I think we saw kind of a little bit of a disaster. And hopefully we're past that now after that win in Washington.
Well, that's why I think that win in Washington was so big, was because, to your point about how they didn't give up last year, and they played teams like the Eagles and the Bills tough in December when they were really depleted from a roster standpoint. That's where I was starting to get worried, JP, with the way the season was going here, because I honestly, on that short week, the way they collapsed against the Broncos, I thought Thursday night could go one of two ways. Either that short week was going to help them forget about what happened Sunday and they'd come out and play. I'm not saying I thought they play as well as they did. That was best case scenario. But I thought on the other end of that was, what if you saw a team that just kind of laid down because of all the drama and things were starting to spiral out of control? Like, I thought that was on the table. I was worried that they would just come out completely flat and then you'd start to see a team that was maybe starting to give up. And it was the opposite of that. So I think we learned something important there. As much heat as Matt Eberflus has right now, it still seems like those guys came out and played, maybe not for him, but at least played still by his principle and got a big win.
Dude, you guys, I haven't seen Fluce's. I mean, those first 4 weeks, he was under heat, man. You could tell like the pressure was mounting, and that seat was getting hot and hotter and hotter. And so, yeah, I didn't know how it was going to come out. I knew with Washington that it was a winnable game. I also was thinking that we really haven't seen a pass rush yet from the Bears, and I knew that Washington has guys on that defensive line that can get after the quarterback. So it was kind of this balance with me of like, okay, which way do I go with this one? But to see how this team came out, fought, especially out the gate, the offense, I was like, holy cow. And let's not forget about the injuries on the back end of that defense as well, right? I mean, you got young guys playing significant roles right now on the back end of that defense, and they found a way. Like Strowman Jr. going and getting a sack and also an interception. Like, yo, man, this is what you want. Like, this is what Ryan Poles is hoping for, is guys coming out making plays while starters are out and having that depth, because that was one of the biggest issues. I think for me, the concerns was, do they have enough depth, especially on the defensive side? And then it was also on the offensive line, if things start to get thin and injuries start happening, because that's another way that a season can fall apart if you don't have that. So to see them come out and fight, to see them play well, and to stick with what I thought their identity should have been all season long was, you got to run the football, man. I know I sound like a broken record, but we come from a team last year that led the league in rushing, and I know Justin was a big part of that. But this team has to be ground and pound and then open up stuff for Justin on the outside, and that connection with DJ Moore that we keep seeing, that we saw in the preseason, that we saw during camp, has taken over into this season as well. And I can only imagine how frustrated DJ Moore was, like, first part of the season, not getting those targets, all that stuff, to now blowing up, and like people are outside of Chicago are like, holy cow, this dude is amazing. Dude, he's different, man.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I've been around football players that are like different, it looks effortless. Like, yo, like they just, everything they do, the route running, he's got that in him where he's playing on a whole nother level, and guys are just seem like he's playing against college dudes and he's out there just balling, man. That connection between 1 and 2, it has been fun to watch.
So after 5 weeks, DJ Moore is 5th in receiving yards with 531. He's trailing Tyreek Hill, Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, and AJ Brown. AJ Brown is obviously the comparison we have now. Go ahead.
I got a question for you. Before these last 2 games, if you had to rank him in where he ranks as receiver wise in the league, like, what is he? Is he top 15, top 10? I mean,
I always thought he had like top 15, top
Yeah.
20 potential. He just needed a quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, there's a long list of quarterbacks that he played with in Carolina, guys that are still in the NFL but on different teams now. I just thought, it's finding that right connection with the quarterback, where if you're AJ Brown, like, you take off for the Jalen Hurts. Like best case scenario with the Bears, if you're DJ Moore, you take off with Justin Fields, and I think that's what we're seeing right now, right, JP?
See, I don't think he was already top 15.
I thought top 15,
but could be top 10, maybe even higher with the right quarterback. And I think what's relieving to me, JP, is, look, man, if you were out there during OTAs, you saw that he was different right away. Like, you could just see on the practice field, compared to all the other players running around out there, that he was the best player. And then it was like very frustrating for the first 3 games to be like, man, they're not getting anything out of this special player. And so to see him blow up these last 2 games like he has is very relieving, because that's what it should look like.
Can I inject real quick? Like, I hated the excuse of like, well, they got a safety over the top, they're like doubling him, they're paying him a lot of attention. Well, Justin Jefferson gets a lot of attention, and he's still getting 8 to 10 balls.
You still
thrown
find
his
ways
way.
to force him the football. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the joy of having a number 1 receiver, is that around the league, all the number 1 guys, man, there's always help over the top. They're always trying to find a way to double. but they find ways to get open. You have to take advantage of that. And the reason why I asked you guys that question is because I start to think about it. And I don't know if I've heard you guys say it, but I know I've said it. To me, he is, when he's on the field, he's the best player on the field for the Bears. I mean, you can talk about Justin when he's on and his ability, but when DJ is on the field for the Bears, he is the best player. And I was just trying to think, who else on this squad is even close to being top 15 at their position, top 10? Like, when you think about it, that's where I start to think about other teams that have, great players and what they do have, that you got to have guys in that realm to be successful. And you need more guys like that. And so to me, it just goes to show the Bears are, as I always thought, we're going to get better as the season went on, especially at this part when I started to look at the schedule preseason. But they also need to add some more too as well. So this thing is far from done. And you need more dogs, as I would say, being in Miami. You got to have more dogs on your squad to be a really good football team and to excel at the next level.
Can I give you a few names who I think maybe have the potential to be?
Ooh.
Like Darnell Wright, maybe in a year or
Dude,
two.
Hey, young bro's a stud, man. Like,
watch out when the train's coming through.
When the train's coming through, I mean,
choo-choo.
He's a stud. I love what he's all about. I love his makeup. You're always, as a rookie, are going to have certain stretches, certain games where things don't go right or you're making mistakes here and there. But you do feel comfortable with him on that right side, man. Like, it is him and Nate David together. It's something special over there that they have. And I love the fact that a guy that's been in the league is being able to mentor another young guy that's sitting next to him. Like, that right there, I think is going to go a long way. But Darnell Wright is special. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
How about Tevin Jenkins when healthy?
Dude, that's the question.
That line is so different with him in it.
Dude, I got chills right now thinking about, dude, that dude is a ball player, man. He's got to stay on the football field. He is another piece that is like, holy cow. Like, how do you not turn on? Because you guys know, and especially I know Hoge, man. Hoge had his glasses on pre-draft, watching his tape, like, dragging dudes out of he's throwing dudes into the front row in college, like where the seats are, and like putting them down next to someone eating popcorn. You know what I mean? Like, just he was like a bouncer throwing dudes out of the club that weren't wearing college shirts or the right shoes. If he can stay healthy, that young man he's got special talent. Keep going.
I got one more name for you.
Okay.
Kyler Gordon at nickelback when healthy. I want to say Jalen Johnson, but there's a lot of good cornerbacks. But like, just in terms of like nickelback, top 15 potential there in terms of Kyler Gordon when healthy. I thought he's one of the Bears' best players in the preseason and training camp. Then he got hurt.
I got no issues with your list, but we keep going back to the same thing. Well, except for Darnell Wright. Can they stay healthy?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hard part, right? I mean, it's the same thing that I keep watching. I love Jaquan Brisker too. I need my dude to stay healthy, stay on the football field. Like, it is, you guys know, it is so hard. And we've seen this so many times of guys that have potential to be able to maybe take their game to another level, but they're not available. And that's the one thing in this league you have to be is available to be able to take that next step. And it's so hard. So for a guy like Tevin, I pray all the time, like, yo, just please stay healthy, because he's got some special talents that you don't see. And then that's a good part. That's two young guys on that offensive line that you can work with as you move forward with whatever decision that you make at the end of this season, right? Like, whatever you do or whatever happens long term, you got two fixtures on that offensive line that you could feel like could be set when healthy, and then you can maneuver around from there.
So what about the quarterback though? Because I mean, that's the guy that you want to be able to say definitively is at least top 15 By the way, his numbers all of a sudden after these last 2 games,
Crazy.
I mean, he's where does he rank right now in passing across the entire NFL? He's in the conversation. But of course, the other side of that is things did look really bad the first 3 weeks, and the last 2 defenses he has played against, not very good. So, but I think this applies to the whole team as well. It's like this next chunk of 5 games. The Bears just had 5 games going into a mini bye. They went 1-4. Really, 4 of the 5 of those games were very winnable, and they only went 1-4. But if they show improvement, if the quarterback shows improvement here, this next stretch of 5 games, also all winnable games, 3-2 would show considerable progress, I think, like just in terms of getting better as the season goes along. I think it starts with that quarterback, though, and whether or not he can continue to keep this momentum going and show that he's a top 15, if not better, quarterback.
Well, I think we've seen a change from like the start of the season with Justin. We all have kind of watched him over the last few years and just seeing how his game is. And man, I saw a young man that seemed like he had a lot of stuff going on inside of his head. He wasn't able to process everything that was being thrown at him. And I don't know, I as on the outside looking in, I'm always like simplify. But then also too, that's one of the things that I've always seen about quarterbacks that I've been around is, can you retain all the information and be able to not only just retain it, but then to take that and put it onto the football field and execute. These last 2 games with the protection that he's had, with looking like a better understanding in his reads, especially in the Washington game, man. There's times where, I'm watching other quarterbacks, look off to hold safeties with their eyes and then coming back to where they want to go with the football, firing it in there, just letting it go. And I'm seeing this out of this young man going, man, number one, dude, he's got something. And I think Hoge, it's hard because a lot of people are like, well, it's 2 bad defenses. Well, yeah, that is true. I get that. But then on the flip side, you got to look at it. And I keep telling people, you got to take advantage. When you're playing against bad defenses, you got to show out and take advantage. And he's done that over the last 2 weeks. I think it's going to be critical because I hear so many people talking about long-term and what you're going to do long-term. Is Justin the guy? This little stretch right here is going to give you a nice little kind of overview of what he's all about. And I think you got to wait until the season's over, kind of like see how he goes from here on out to the end of the season. And can he keep making that progress? Can he keep putting up the numbers that he's been putting up or close to those numbers? Because that's when you talk about top 15, top 10, all those guys are doing that every single week, win or lose. They're putting up big time numbers. And occasionally you'll have a game where, like even Patrick Mahomes against the Jets, right? Where you're like, holy, what is going on here? This is not who he is. But then he's going to come back out again and he'll figure it out. Can Justin do that over this stretch, especially this stretch of the next 5 games? Can he find a way to keep grinding it out? Because you got to keep seeing that progress. And you didn't see it in leading into the Broncos game. And then next thing you know, he kind of broke out. And I think that's going to be the hardest part for Ryan Poles, right? Long-term, you got a crop full of, you have 2 quarterbacks that are coming out in this next coming draft that people are talking about as, changing franchises. And do you invest and think about Justin long-term or is this like, yo, we want to restart the clock again on the quarterback position? I'm so glad that I do not have to make those decisions because it's going to be tough. But I'm still behind Justin to see what he can do as the rest of the season goes along.
JP, quickly, how much do you think the Bears are going to miss Khalil Herbert?
Oh, dude, a lot, man. You know me, running backs, they need to be respected more in this league. All right, they need to. He's I'm more impressed that I've always said I knew he could run the football. I know he can catch out of the backfield. My biggest thing was pass protection with him. Are you going to be able to pass protect? Can you be that guy that's in on 3 downs and not have to be taken out because you're a liability when it comes to pass protection. So I've seen him taking a better stride of trying to get better at that. Running the football on the ground game. There's something about his game. It's not flashy, but he gets it done. And I definitely think they're going to miss him in the ground game. And it's tough. You guys know high ankle sprains are no joke. Sometimes those things, you never know how it's going to come back. And for what he does and how he grounds and pounds, yeah, that ankle, I don't know what they're doing to get that thing right and try to recovery for him. But yeah, without him in the game, but I still like Roschon Johnson. I like all these guys that they still have, but the injury bug has hit that running back room, man. Whether it's concussions, whether it's hamstring, whatever it is, I think the Darrington Evans just bringing him in. That's if you're putting him on the active roster, you're worried about what's going on in that running back room.
JP, I know you got to go, but we got to ask you about Dick Butkus on your way out. Big member of the Bears family. Any memories? Any stories and what Dick Butkus meant to you, your family?
Yeah, just the last time I got a chance to talk to him, it was Super Bowl in LA. And Hoge, I know you got a chance to talk to him as well, but it was just crazy. It was over Zoom. And after we got done, we just talked Bears for almost like 20 minutes. And I had a Hall of Famer that I was about to get onto the phone, onto a Zoom call with, and I was 20 minutes late. And when I got on, I said, listen, I'm sorry. I was on with Dick Butkus. And he looked at me like, oh, it's all good. No worries. And I think that was the coolest part, man. He was always there for me when I needed him. If I needed to call him, have a conversation, talk, he was there. He was an amazing man. And, for us to watch this game that we watch all the time, especially the Bears, I wish I was old enough to be able to watch him live, because all the stories that I hear about him as a football player and how he played the game, it's probably a big reason why my dad talked about him a lot. My dad didn't talk about a lot of guys. He only talked about dudes that kind of represented what he was all about. And Dick Butkus was one of those guys. So he will be missed.
JP, I got a throwback for you. You see this over my shoulder?
Yeah, I see it. Dude, let's go. Old school. Old school.
The game.
Hey, man.
87.7.
I appreciate you guys, bro.
Hey, tell people about that. Show people that sweatshirt real quick before you go.
There it is. Roots of Fight, man. That's sweetness. That's sweetness. Yeah, you got to hook it up, boy. I might get Hoge Jahns one so they can, dude, before I go, and I know I got to jump off like right now, but man, dude, I'm super proud of both of you guys, man. Like, for real. You guys, I remember when you started the podcast and how it's grown, to all the people that come up to me, tell me that they listen to the podcast, all my friends, like, you guys have taken it to a whole nother level, man. There's not a podcast like this in the city of Chicago, especially covering the Bears. You guys do a great job, and I appreciate you guys for all the hard work, man, because I know how busy both you guys are. And for you guys to be able to keep doing this, man, you guys are taking it to a whole nother level. So I congratulate you guys on all the success.
Thanks,
man.
JP.
Too nice.
Right back at you, too, because you might be the one guy who's busier than we are.
All right, man. Peace, guys.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Bear down. Love you guys.
Jarrett Payton, at Payton's son on Twitter. And, this is actually connected to the pod, because this was a big reason why the pod started. Because I was working at 87.7 The Game, or the WGN sports station. It didn't last very long, only lasted like 10 months. And they kept me out at WGN, and I was like, well, how do I talk as much Bears as I was before? And then that's where the podcast started.
Here
Just an opportunity to keep doing it. Here we are years and years later. So always good to talk to Jarrett Payton. Great stuff from him. And yes, he is Chicago Bears royalty, as Bears and Cigars points out here on our live show. I wanted to talk real quick, Johns, about Justin Fields, because I think this mini bye is a good opportunity to kind of zoom out and look big picture at where he's at right now in his development. I just want to point out a few things of where I think he's gotten better and where he's still got room to grow. I want to point out one thing I think he got better at in the offseason that I think we actually still saw the first 3 weeks when things weren't going well. And that's his pre-snap recognition. He seemed to be doing a good job, to me, at least watching the film, of getting those pre-snap checks correctly. Those when you see him when he puts his hands up. You saw the quarterbacks last night doing that. Can. That means they had 2 plays at the line of scrimmage. A lot of times one's a run, one's a pass. It's not always like that, but most of the time, and you read in the box essentially. And if you have a light box, you check to a run or vice versa. And I thought that even early on in the season that he was showing that. And I think that was one of the offseason improvements that you could really start to see. I think as the season's gone along, these first 5 games, one thing I've seen him improve at then is going through his reads. I still think it could be a touch quicker, but
sometimes they're too quick, actually.
Yeah, well, sometimes he still has a tendency to skip reads, which is something actually, if you go back in our archives, Nate Tice was talking about when they drafted him. That's fine, though. He seems to be knowing where to go with the football more. Even like going back to week 2, remember when he missed Roschon Johnson wide open down the seam? Like, I think he's improved on that the last few games. I think you're seeing him know where to go with the ball. Now, the 2 areas where I still think he can get better, and they're not the easiest things to improve. One is accuracy. I still think the accuracy can be a touch better. I think it has been better, but I still think that there's a couple examples where it could still be a little bit better. And then the other thing that I don't know, I probably feel like sound like a broken record at this point, because I do think there is a limit to how much you can improve. I think you can improve a little, but I don't know that it's ever going to fully click. And that's the anticipation. That's the anticipatory throws. I do think it can get a touch better, though, with more and more reps, with more and more experience. And that's just sort of my PSA right now, is like, let's let this kid get these reps at least the rest of this season. You're seeing across the league some of these quarterbacks that have more experience having more success. And I think Justin's still young enough, still raw enough that you have to see this thing out. Let him get more reps, especially with a guy like DJ Moore. And like that last throw to DJ Moore in that game that turned out to be a touchdown, but was nearly an interception going the other way. Like, instead of just firing that ball in there, which he has the raw ability to do, get that ball out of touch quicker so it's not that close, right? That's still the smallest area where I do think he can improve. So overall, my big message here is there have been improvements and there's still room to grow. And I just hope that he continues on this trajectory, because it was obviously looking very scary there the first 3 weeks.
To me, it's all about anticipation and trust. It's trusting what you're seeing, trusting that your receiver is going to be there, and trusting that your offensive line is going to deliver enough protection for you to get the pass off as cleanly as possible. And I think the past 2 games have been better. I think the first few games were littered with examples where your eyes are in the right place. Just throw the ball. It's not going to be perfect in the middle or in the pocket. I mean, just let it go. Trust your receiver to make the play. I like that he's trusting DJ Moore. And I think he still trusts Darnell Wright and Cole Clement. You know, like, I like the anticipation throw at the end of the game.
Darnell Mooney.
Yes. Yeah. What did I say?
You
Darnell
said right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Good player.
I knew what
good
you meant.
blocker. Yes. Yeah. Just throw the ball. And I think he's getting better at that. Trust. It's there. The offense, like, some of the scheme is working. As much as the scheme has been criticized, some of it is working. Guys are open. You know, trust what you're seeing and deliver the football. Can I give you some stats real quick?
Yes, but I do want to point out that I'm not opposed to a Darnell Wright touchdown. Let's get the big guy a touchdown reception.
Very much.
Okay. Just wanted to point that out.
You threw me off there a little bit. His passer rating of 95.4 ranks 12th in the NFL right now.
Okay.
Right behind, can you name this quarterback?
I bet you his name rhymes with Patrick Mahomes.
Mojado. That's a great commercial, by the way. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is 11th in passer rating right now. So I know passer rating is kind of an incomplete stat. So his QBR, now he drops a bit here. Fields is 21st in the league in QBR. He's right behind Deshaun Watson, Sam Howell, Derek Carr, and Trevor Lawrence. But he's ahead of Russell Wilson, Jordan Love, Mac Jones, Joe Burrow, Kenny Pickett, Bryce Young, some other young quarterbacks on that list. Let me give you some Viking stats. All right. The worst
Okay.
passing defense in the league in terms of opposing quarterback passer rating. The Denver Broncos. Number 2, second worst, Chicago Bears. Number 3, the Minnesota Vikings. They are allowing opposing quarterbacks to average a passer rating of 110.8, 240 yards per game. They've allowed 1,200 yards passing, 9 touchdowns with only 1 interception. So you play who you play. This right now, I would anticipate that the feel-good moments, the confidence-building moments will continue against the Minnesota Vikings because the stats are there. He should succeed. He should find success against them.
Yeah, and if I remember right, he had a decent game last year against the Vikings in Minnesota. He didn't play in the finale, but that game in Minnesota, which came down to Amir Smith-Marset fumbling the ball, right?
He comes up a lot on this podcast.
Well, I think he plays for the Vikings now.
Did he used to play with? I don't know. That's more of a Kevin Fishman like fun fact.
Yeah, that's stuff that Kevin pays attention to. No, I think you're right, and I think that look, you play who you play on the schedule. You don't control it. That's your matchup this week. You take advantage of the opportunities that's in front of you, and I think the opportunity that's in front of the Bears this week is continued development for the quarterback. Obviously, you'd love to see Darnell Mooney get involved. I think they're close there. I know it was frustrating to see Darnell Mooney get, 4 targets, no catches, but 3 of those, quite frankly, probably should have been not just completions, but big time plays. You go to the first play of the game. I didn't think Mooney did the best job of running through that football. I think he kind of slowed himself up as he tried to turn for it. Could the accuracy been a touch better? Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I thought the throw was off on that one.
The first play of the game?
Yes. Yeah.
Go back and watch the all 22. I'm not saying it was a perfect throw, but I think if Mooney just runs under that ball instead of trying to turn and catch it, it's right there. And it probably was a touchdown. So maybe it was on the wrong shoulder and put Mooney in a tough spot. But I think that's what I'm talking about. Regardless of whose fault it was, they're so close. I think that's an example of them being close. The other one that might surprise, obviously the touchdown throw, it wasn't a touchdown, but it should have been, where you saw Justin immediately be like, my bad. He's got to get that ball out just a touch faster. And I think it's an easy run under it touchdown for Darnell Mooney. So another one, they're close. The other one that might surprise you, once I saw the all 22, Johns, remember the deep sail to the left where it just looked like Justin totally missed him? I actually think that ball was pretty close to where it was supposed to be. Mooney got kind of held up coming out of his break, and I think that disrupted the timing. That's, again, the chemistry aspect. And I don't want to bash Justin because I actually think he threw that ball with some anticipation. So, but maybe you can't assume that everything's going to be black and white. You got to kind of adjust based on, does your receiver, especially on those long developing routes, get out cleanly, get out of his break clean, all those types of things. Again, whoever's fault it is, whatever, it is what it is. I'm just saying, I looked at that tape, and even though Mooney had 0 catches, I think they're close to some big plays. I would not be surprised to see Mooney get a big touchdown in this game against the Vikings.
Some around the league will tell you those are the best throws, those deep overs, deep sails, whatever you want to call them. Those are Justin Fields' that's where his arm talent shows up the most. But you're right. That's everything you just said there kind of reminded me of a Matt Nagy conversation that we had where Nagy would say, well, yeah, it's not always going to be perfect. You got to adjust your throw and location based on what's happening in the play. And that's some of it. Sometimes you see receivers stop and the ball's behind them or they're flat footed and then they turn up the field. It's the NFL, man.
So I don't at all mean to make this like a comparison to Mahomes and Kelsey. I just want to bring up an amazing example of this I saw on Sunday. It's pretty much the best example you can come up with. And that I'm not sure there's a duo right now in football that has a better chemistry than those two, right? But they ran a play in the red zone where they basically faked the screen out to Kelsey to the left side. And I think they were hoping that the defense would bite on that. And then the receiver on the go would be wide open in the end zone. And the Vikings, you just pointed out their bad pass defense, actually did a really good job. And they didn't bite on it. And so you see Mahomes pump to Kelsey, then not, what do I do? And then because he's Patrick Mahomes, he can run around and do his little Mahomes thing in the pocket. But as he's stepping up and he appears to be looking to the right away from Kelsey, you see Travis Kelsey, who's maybe the best at doing this in the league, immediately change what he's doing, scramble drill, right? And he basically runs a slant towards the middle of the field, towards Mahomes. And I don't know how Mahomes sees him out of the corner of his eye, but all of a sudden he just, like it's totally planned the whole time, throws a dart to Kelsey, and he catches the ball, picks up a first down, and now they're at like the 5-yard line or whatever they were. Like, it was just, watching this live, I was like, that chemistry is ridiculous. But what I hope is happening here is the Bears have not a Travis Kelsey, but they do, in my opinion, have one of the better wide receivers in the league right now in DJ Moore. And I hope that Justin Fields and DJ Moore can start to develop that type of inherent chemistry, that when things are not black and white, when things are not perfect, not drawn exactly to the script, that they're going to be able to adjust and know where the other guy is. And if they're on the same page, that's the type of weapon that the good teams have that. And I hope that just starts to develop here.
Well, we saw it like for a lot of years between Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Like, they ran their own. There was the Packers offense, and then there was what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams wanted to do.
We're doing with their hand signals.
Yes. Before the play, during the play, it was wild. Now it doesn't exist anymore. They're in different cities. But you're right. If there's one thing that surprised me, and I wanted to bring this up earlier when we were talking about him, but DJ Moore's run after the catch ability.
Oh,
I didn't know he was going to be that dynamic, that he would always routinely spin out of tackles and pick up more yards. He is tough to bring down.
He's faster than I thought. And I say that having covered one of his 200-yard games in college when I was standing on the sideline, Northwestern at Maryland, and he was doing those types of things where you just get the ball in his hands and he would be electric. But I guess I just didn't appreciate enough of how much that translated to the NFL. Maybe just there's more opportunity. I don't know, but he's fast, man. And that yak has been incredible.
Yeah. It's like in training camp where you saw him catch that quick slant and he took it to the house. Well,
yeah,
they're not tackling. I don't know if that's real. Oh, looking back now, that was real. Like, the players knew it was real. You don't trust your eyes there, Adam Johns. All right. I got those True Media advanced stats if you want them.
Can I just make one more point before you get to those?
Yeah.
Having a guy, you were just talking about with Devontae Adams, or what we were just talking about with Travis Kelsey, if DJ Moore can become that guy, it's almost like you coach some flag football, right? Where it's like, you have like the one, I'm not saying it's as simple, it's the NFL, but you're like, you could tell all the kids that, like, you run this route, you run this route, you run this route, and then you just tell the quarterback, throw it to the good player. Kid. Like, just go wherever the open space is.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Kelsey does. He's just like, I swear that's the Chiefs offense. It's just like everybody's running routes, and then they just tell Kelsey, hey, go get open.
Yeah.
I know it's more complicated than that, but doesn't it seem like that when you're watching? It's like, all you guys, you run the offense, and then you go get open. And it's the same thing that Rodgers did with Devontae, right? It was just, they could communicate at the line of scrimmage, and they'd be like, okay, based on what I'm seeing here with the defense, that spot's going to be open. So you just go run there, and then I'm going to throw it to you, and then it's going to be a first down.
The ball will be there.
Yeah.
Catch it. Gosh. I'm just trying to think, like, Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler had a pretty good connection. I mean, obviously that fizzled out for a lot of different reasons, but nothing like what we're talking about, right? Like, they force-fed Marshall the ball, like, on short throws and whatnot, if I'm remembering this correctly, but different level connections are what we're talking about. All right, from our friends at True Media, stat number 1. Tevin Jenkins played in his first game this season, rotated with Cody Whitehair, just Tyreek Carter left guard. Jenkins played well when he was in. He was on the field for 16 pass block snaps and 21 run block snaps. He didn't allow any hurries or pressures.
I believe it, man. I feel like I've been talking about this kid for years now. I know, I guess it's been, 2.5 or whatever it's been. But when he's on the field, when he's healthy, he is legitimately a really good offensive lineman. Just got to stay healthy. And these kinds of conversations suck, quite frankly, because you don't want to just assume the guy's going to get hurt again. But, it's like the resume is what the resume is. I love watching Tevin Jenkins play. I talk about it all the time. His film is so fun to watch. Just want him out there. So here's the hope, and he stays healthy, right? I don't know what else to say about it. But when you have a guy like that, you better have a backup plan too.
Yep. Number 2, the Bears defense had their best pass rushing game of the season. Their average time to sack against the Commanders was 3.38 seconds. The Bears had a season high 11 quarterback hits. Again, it did help to play against Sam Howell, but the Bears had their highest blitz percentage of 28.3% for Matt Eberflus.
So I think we'll find out this week if this is an enigma or if there's actually some progress being made here, because one thing is talking about Justin Fields holding on to the ball too long. Sam Howell will hold it forever. And let's be honest, like I think 3 of those sacks, all the D-line sacks were all basically in garbage time late. I'm not trying to diminish it, but it's the reality of the game. I mean, at one point, the only sacks were linebacker and Greg Stroman, who's 185 pounds coming off the edge as a corner. So I hope those numbers are real, but now you got a quarterback in Kirk Cousins this week who is going to get rid of the ball faster. Now, that being said, he's taken a ton of hits. His offensive line isn't that great.
He doesn't have Justin Jefferson this week.
And that's we mentioned it off the top, but we need to talk about that more. Do you have more stats first?
No, go ahead. We can keep going. I got one more, but we can
okay, just I mean, I don't think you can. This line's already moved a point down to 2.5. It was the Vikings are favored by 3.5. It's now 2.5. Taking Justin Jefferson out of that offense is, I mean, there's only a handful of guys. It's like taking Kelsey out of the Chiefs offense. It's gonna look different. It just is. Like that's the Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce type of thing I was just talking about. Go get Vikings open. We're going to throw you the ball. And if you take him out, it's just not the same.
No, he is top 3 player in the league, right?
Probably.
Top 5 player in the league of any position, not just his position at receiver, any position.
Well, no one's better getting open right now than him. Jamar Chase is maybe the only other one that's in the conversation. But Jefferson's just insane. And that was a matchup where, especially with how the Bears defense has been, I don't know how they were going to stop him.
The Vikings are having that regression we all kind of predicted.
Yeah.
They're not winning the tight games. Nothing about them really scares you, does it?
Well, without Jefferson,
right?
Yeah. Hawkinson's still a problem. I worry about Hawkinson. Don't sleep on Jordan Addison, the rookie out of USC. He's pretty electric.
But he's not Justin Jefferson.
Oh, he's not Justin Jefferson. But defensively, there's nothing there that has you, laying awake at night. I'm not gonna lie. This Jefferson news. We'll get to Thursday's preview show and make our picks then. But I was leaning Vikings earlier in the week. I think this is big enough to flip my prediction completely. I think it's that big.
All right, I have more on DJ Moore. He has been an absolute force on third down, making 12 catches for 255 yards and 4 touchdowns. He has 111 yards after the catch on third down. 10 of his 12 receptions have gone for first downs.
Whew.
I mean, those are some numbers right there.
Money down, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you make money in the NFL right there. He's been really fun to watch. It's, what, also, I think in the last 2 games, Justin Fields has a perfect passer rating throwing to DJ Moore. I think that's a stat I saw this week. So you could say double DJ. You know, you're gonna have to throw somewhere else. I don't know if you have a perfect passer ready to throw at that guy. I think you just keep throwing at him.
Yeah. I mean, trust him to win his one-on-one matchups.
That one route he had, I guess it was like the second or third play. The big play right after
58-yarder with the double move down the field.
That route was incredible. I mean, and you didn't even need the coach's film to see it. You could see it right there on TV. I mean, that was a special route.
I think what I appreciate most about like the mini bye for us is you get to watch a little bit more other football, or like track the NFL a little bit differently instead of being like so focused on the team that we cover.
We miss a lot on Sundays. There's no question.
We do. The parity is still real, man. Like you got the Eagles in this conference, the NFC. You got the Eagles and you got the 49ers. Everybody, Lions maybe after that.
Lions are. I'm going to give the Lions a lot of credit. I still don't quite think they're to the Eagles or 49ers level right now, but things change quickly in the NFL, and I still worry about the 49ers staying healthy.
I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-1, but are you sold on them?
No.
Seahawks 3-1.
Don't they play the Lions this week?
I'm not sure.
I think the Bucs play the Lions this week.
The 49ers, I think they're the class of this conference right now. I mean, they just look unstoppable on both sides of the ball, but
yeah,
that parity is real. And one more thing. We might be right on Jordan Love.
Yeah. No, I was never sweating that one too much.
Actually, I kind of was after the first game.
Yeah.
But I kept reminding myself, week one really doesn't tell you anything. Week one's always a little bit wild. It doesn't really give you a good indication where the season's going. And I think we got that with the Packers.
What's happening right now to Green Bay is probably worst case scenario for Green Bay, where Jordan Love is playing well enough to be 2-3 at this point, to not be completely awful, to bottom out and potentially get in the sweepstakes for one of these young quarterbacks. Like, if they finish with 7 or 8 wins, that's honestly probably the best case. If you're a Bears fan, that's probably what you're rooting for. It's like Jordan Love is not horrible to where they can't win, but he's also obviously not the solution going forward.
I don't think he completed a pass over 5 yards. That interception he had to the middle linebacker last night is one of the worst interceptions I've seen in a couple of years.
Yeah,
like
that guy's got hands, by the way.
Yeah,
the second Spillane, the second tip ball that he just sort of caught so easily. I'm like, put that guy on offense. He's got some incredible hands. He did have the deep completion to Watson. I don't remember how many air yards were on that one. A lot of it was catch and run, and then they horse collared him down at the 5. But
yes, I saw that. Yeah,
but that was pretty much it.
His completion percentages, like let's just go through them: 55.6, 56, 50, 63.9, and 53.3. That's what he's done over 5 games.
Yeah,
not good.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
The Lions, though, might be for real. Holy moly. Aiden Hutchinson's a problem.
Yeah, he's just really good. You could see that last year. I was so impressed with Aiden Hutchinson last year. And speaking of having hands, that interception he had was incredible.
A bit ridiculous.
I think those are the 2 hardest games left on the Bears schedule. The Lions games. And don't forget, they catch both of those games. I'm not saying the Bears can win them, but the Bears have a huge rest advantage in both of those games.
Like, that strikes me as a game where you just want the scrambling ability of Justin Fields, which we really haven't seen be the threat that it was last year. That's where you want to see it.
Yeah.
Because that's when he becomes a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare. And I know they're spying him. I know he's trying to stay in the pocket a little bit longer. But that Lions game, those Lions games, at least right now, stand out as a game. Is a few where if he gets out of that pocket and he beats that one spy, you got a different game going there.
But to what Jarrett Payton was talking about earlier, like you just need dudes to worry about. And like last year, the Bears had that little offensive explosion, and then basically the defenses realized, well, we basically just have to stop Justin. Okay, yeah, they got a good running game too, but we can kind of let them bleed a little bit through the run, and as long as we stop Justin, we're okay. Well, now you got DJ Moore to worry about.
Yeah.
And you still have a decent running game. Khalil Herbert, it's not great, but I still think their depth at running back's going to be able to keep that thing going, especially as this offensive line gets better. If you can unlock more of Cole Kmet, get Darnell Mooney going, now it just becomes that much harder to just defend Justin Fields. You can't just do that.
And I know like Cole Kmet's like a hot button issue. Like he almost gets like the quarterback treatment. Like you either love him or you hate him in this town, right?
Yeah.
He's not Travis Kelce and everybody. Top 10 tight end though, for everything he does. He's not a move tight end. He's not like you want Robert Tonyan to handle some of that. And Tonyan isn't up to speed where you need him to be because of his injury history. But top 10, top 12 tight end, Cole Kmet.
Yeah, he showed a little wiggle on that touchdown too.
A little wiggle.
But when he came out of that break,
I know he
it was there. Hey, by the way, Cole, I should plug this. Cole Kmet's going to be in studio with us on CHGO today.
Friend of the show.
For a whole hour. So check that out noon on CHGO, where I have Cole Kmet in there the entire time. Should be a lot of fun. Anything else you want to get to before we get out of here?
No. Don't underestimate the parity of the NFL, everybody.
We got voicemails.
Oh, yes. Hit them.
I almost forgot. Kent has our voicemails from last week's win over Washington. Here they are.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Hey, Bears fans, B-Man here. I'm about to get on a plane and go on a cruise, but when I land, I hope I have good news. Bear down!
Hey, Hoge Jahns. Nick down here in Charlotte. Just heard about Dick Butkus. Really sad. Hoping these guys can maybe pull one out for him tonight. Bear down.
Let's go, baby! 7-0 Bears!
Foggy Cat, John Zipet, Bob Dabrowski here, calling in live. Washington, D.C., here with a report about the Chicago Bears. Boys, these guys, the offense we knew about, okay, after last week. This is the best offense in the NFL. We know that. This defense, where did this come from? I love it. Love to see it. Let's go Bears. Bears down. 10-0 right now. Quadruple it. 40-0. I'm going low tonight, but keep it respectable in honor of Dick Butkus. 51-0. Just up at 11. Go Bears. Bear down.
A Bears win tonight is the worst possible outcome. I want all of these guys fired tomorrow. I love DJ Moore.
This might be the first. I'm out of words. I'm having fun. I predicted the game would be 23-3 at the end, not, the score being surpassed at halftime. Bear down, baby.
It's halftime, and all I can think is we did fire all of our coaching staff this week because the entire game is completely different. We're blitzing and getting pressure on defense. We're doing all kinds of pocket movements on offense. It's amazing what you can do with new coaches.
Hoge Jahns, Bob Charleston. This is the Justin Fields we've all been waiting for. 2 games here. Ripping it. I love it. Let's go. Bear down. 27-3. Keep the pedal down. Let's go. Beat them. 50 points. Come on, Bears. Let's go. Bear down.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
27-11.
Am I so scarred as a Bears fan that I cannot be excited right now because I'm afraid they're going to blow it? Emotional damage.
Finally, we get a sack. 7 minutes left. You know what? Never mind. It's a first down. Bye.
What? The Chicago Bears is going to win? What the
Okay, Hoge Jahns, I lied. I kept watching the game and kept downing Whiskey Coke, so I can't tell right now if I had one too many or if the Bears won 40-20. Either way, feeling good, bear down.
I'm just happy tonight that we won. I'm going to come home from work, not depressed. I'm actually in a good mood.
I feel like a dog that's finally caught a car. We got the win, and I don't know what to do with it. I'm in complete shock. I've forgotten how this feels.
Holy shit, Hoge Jahns, the Chicago Bears have won a football game. Oh my God, it finally happened. Woo! Hey, by the way, DJ Moore, good at football.
Guys, I can't tell you how much I needed this. I've been working every night till 2 a.m. and I just needed something this week.
Hey Bears fans, B-Man here. I just got off the plane, and I came back with some great news. Bear down!
Couple good candidates in there for voicemail of the week.
Like a dog who caught a car.
That was pretty good. I like the other guy, too, that was just like, he seems stunned. He's like, I'm having fun. What's happening here? This is weird.
Adam, I covered a win in person for the first time in nearly a calendar year.
Yeah. We had to, we have different...
I was getting crabby, man, like old sports reporter crabby like.
Yeah. It wasn't good at House Hall last week. I was there on Wednesday, and as they were getting ready to leave, and it's just like, Flus seemed just different in his press conferences last week. The vibe was not good. So it's the NFL. Wins cure a lot, but they got to keep it rolling here. Big difference between 1-5 and 2-4. Not that either is good, but it's a possibility to get this thing back on track to what the preseason expectations really were about, which is Justin Fields, and then as a team just showing signs of improvement, like basically being the Lions of last year.
I still think the best case scenario for the Bears, and I'm not going to change from this for a while, is that Justin Fields shows you enough where if you have 2 top 10 picks, if he shows you enough, you're going to win some games. But you use that draft capital, that Panthers pick, to invest in some other guys, like JP was saying.
Yeah.
A pass rusher. Like, when was Aiden Hutchinson draft? Number 2?
Yeah, he was 2. Yeah.
Nick Bosa, number 2?
Yeah. You can get some good players there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. It's number 2.
But I remember talking about that going into the draft this year. Was like, very rarely are those guys busts. Like those first, like the top pass rusher available every year. That's why I love Jalen Carter so much. It's like, yeah, I know all this stuff off the field, but like, man, when the tape's the tape, the dude's going to be dominant. So imagine a world this year where you can get Darnell Wright and Jalen Carter. Like, that's what's possibly on the table in the draft.
Myles Garrett, number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Here's a stat for Cole Kmet. According to Fantasy Pros, I just Googled this. This was the first thing that came up. He is the 2nd ranked tight end in fantasy. You can bring that up to your show. Yes. He is ahead of Sam Laporta, the rookie out of Detroit, Cole Kmet, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and George Kittle. Number 2.
Wow.
So even that Travis Kelce segment we did on the podcast today, Cole Kmet is better. His receiving yards of 231 rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. So there you go.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. Players love when you bring up their fantasy stats to them, so I'll make sure I do that.
Yeah, hey, but those are real stats.
Yeah. No,
real numbers.
So yeah, again, Cole Kmet will be on CHGO today at noon. If you want to check us out live, go to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel, hit subscribe. I hope you have hit subscribed here as well. Yeah, do us a favor. Even if you're one of the old school podcast listeners, and we love you very much, we still know that the majority of you listen that way. If you can still jump onto YouTube at some point and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, it still helps us a lot, help grow the channel. So if you can do that, same thing. If you like watching this thing on YouTube every week, if you don't mind jumping on your podcast app and finding us there and hitting, subscribe, follow, whatever it is, depending on what app you're using, and rate and review the pod. We appreciate that. Most importantly, please tell a friend, send a link to a friend that's a Bears fan that maybe hasn't discovered us. We appreciate you doing that. You can also find us at hoganjahns.com. All of our merch is up there. John's got the In Adam We Trust shirt on today. It seems like hoodie season. So these are available. These hoodies, blue, we got them in blue and orange at hoganjahns.com. All the merch is up there courtesy of Obvious Shirts. We love Obvious Shirts, our partnership with them. They're awesome guys, and they're killing it right now with the merch. So we appreciate all the support there. We also love to see photos on Twitter X, whatever we call that, wherever you're rocking your Hoge Jahns merch, send it that way. We love seeing that, especially, I don't know, so many exotic places on top of a mountain, cool things like that. I don't know why. People
I
do
like
cool,
that it's a thing. Keep doing it.
Yeah, but it makes people do cooler things than we do. It's like, here I am in my Hoge Jahns hoodie on Mount Everest.
If we ever get that, I that's it. That is like the pinnacle of the podcast.
Yeah.
Literally pinnacle of
We'll just stop the pod at that point. We made it to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I didn't make it to Mount Everest, but if the merch got there,
somebody did.
I feel like I'm there. So that's great. All right. That's all we got today. Appreciate it. We'll be back Thursday to preview this game against Minnesota. See if the Bears can get 2 in a row. I think that's a winning streak, or maybe I got to win one more. I don't know, whatever the line is for Major League. We're out of here. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
See ya.